In the late 1990s, Prabowo Subianto was dismissed from Indonesia's military over alleged human rights abuses, allegations he denies. But thanks to a rebrand, he's now the presidential frontrunner in the world's third largest democracy. On February 14, more than 200 million voters across 6,000 inhabited islands will head to the polls. Voting's not compulsory in Indonesia, but a high turnout is predicted.
In 2019 election, the voter turnout is 81%. In Indonesia, election time, we call it Pesta Rakyat, People's Party.
Voters will be choosing between three presidential candidates. Prabowo Subianto, Indonesia's current defence minister, is leading the polls despite his controversial past. A general under former dictator Suharto, Prabowo was accused of involvement in the kidnapping and torture of pro-democracy activists in the late 1990s, and of rights abuses in Papua and Timor-Leste, accusations he denies. More than half of all eligible voters in this year's election are aged between 17 and 40. About a third are under 30.
They don't have the same strong memories of Suharto's regime. When I've asked young activists, they've said that those darker chapters in history aren't really taught in lots of detail at school.
Prabowo's run twice before, but this time he's bolstering his ticket by sharing it with Gibran Rakabuming Raka, the eldest son of outgoing President Joko Widodo, known as Jokowi.
So Jokowi hasn't officially endorsed Prabowo, but his son is running in tandem with him. He is widely perceived as backing him.
This family connection has fueled speculation Jokowi is building a dynasty, despite his own presidential campaigning on his lack of ties to the political elite.
So Jokowi is a phenomena, and actually at that time, people see that there was a hope in him.
So when Jokowi came to office, he was a former furniture maker. He was seen as a humble man who was from a normal background and who managed to rise to the top and become president. And that was a huge part of his appeal. But some of those voters who supported him previously now feel that he is betraying that image and that he is working to establish a dynasty in order to cling to power and retain his influence.
Jokowi's 36-year-old son, who is currently the mayor of Surakarta, was initially barred from running. Indonesia's constitution requires candidates be at least 40 years old, but a court ruling created an exception for Raka, a court which happens to be led by his uncle. Trailing behind Prabowo is Anies Baswedan. A former academic and governor of Jakarta, Anies is the only candidate not to support Jokowi's plan to move the capital city from sinking Jakarta to Borneo, saying there are more urgent issues for the government. He's now running alongside Muhaimin Iskandar, leader of Indonesia's biggest Islamic party. Polls predict Anies coming in a distant second, with a slim margin over a third contender, Ganjar Pranowo, the former governor of Central Java and a member of the Indonesia Democratic Party of Struggle, the same party Jokowi was part of. It had seemed Jokowi would support Pranowo's leadership ambitions, until Jokowi's son got in the way. The importance of winning the youth vote has led to local media dubbing this the TikTok election. With 125 million users, Indonesia is the app's second largest market after the US.
On the research from CSIS, an organization in Indonesia, it shows that the main resource for the youth to get the information is from the social media. We cannot see the whole context of the discussion on these short videos. When I went to some universities, for example, and I asked the college student, did you watch the debate last night, for example? And they said, we didn't see the whole debate, but we only see from the TikTok, the short videos.
Definitely, the candidates have been making a concerted effort to try to reach them through social media, but some analysts have raised concerns that rather than addressing those core issues with detailed policy pledges, they have really resorted, or some have resorted to gimmicks. For example, there have even been ticket giveaways to K-pop concerts.
Prabowo is currently the frontrunner, polling at around 51%. But if he falls short and nobody gets over the 50% required to win, the top two candidates will head to a runoff election in June.
There is still a chance that the election could go to a second round. And Prabowo will likely be nervous about that if there's a possibility of the two candidates who have run against him, of their supporters joining together and voting against him.